It's going down. Shalom. First and foremost, giving all praises, honor, glory, respect, and blessings to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rachak Kwadash. Salutations to the Lord's elect on the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth and sincerity while patiently waiting for Yahweh Shai's return. And double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, which have taught us everything we know through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. And welcome to another series of It's Going Down, being brought to you by the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. Meta cuts more than 11,000 jobs, biggest CULL in its history. Now, for those who don't know, Meta is like an offshoot or an offspring of Facebook, where it's supposed to be this, well, it's known as the metaverse, okay, which is supposed to be this virtual reality that, lets you travel around in this virtual world and let you be whatever you want and this, that, fourth, and the other. Which ultimately is going to lead to a trap. But here it says, Facebook parent company whose shares have lost more than 2/3 of their value. And it's interesting how 2/3 keep popping up in these news articles, right? But anyways, we know that the 2/3 in the Holy Scriptures is talking about the 2/3 of our people in the land, which goes back to the Hebrew word aratazah, which, if you know how to pick the meat off the bones, you'll know that word land there, the definition for that land, which is aratazah in Zechariah 13:8. That word land is aratazah, which means country. It literally says country in the definition. And that country has been identified to be the United States of America. But anyways, Facebook's company, whose shares have lost more than 2/3 of their value, said it also plans to cut discretionary spending and extend its hiring freeze through the first quarter. Meta Platforms Inc. said on Wednesday it will let go 13% of its workforce, or more than 11,000 employees, which further proves that we're living in a recession. Because a part of a recession is what? When there's high unemployment rates. Now, as of next year, they're talking about laying people off the job in order to fix the hyperinflation. So a lot of people is going to lose their jobs over this whole hyperinflation thing, which Isaiah 10:1 warned to them that decree unrighteous decrees. Now, when you look up that word decree, it literally means a decision or a law. So they're going to make it a unrighteous law for people to be laid off, knowing that they can hardly afford to make ends meet, but they still going to lay them off to fix this so-called hyperinflation, which is systematically being done by the so-called elites, by the Illuminati, through the government of the United States of America. So it says, Meta Platforms Inc. said on Wednesday it will let go 13% of its workforce, more than 11,000 employees, in one of the biggest technology layoffs this year, as Facebook parent battles soaring costs and a weak advertising market. And when I hear the word soaring costs, that leads me back to this international food and commodity and grain trade between these major ship companies that basically ship off food and grains and fruits and vegetables and different kinds of food from one country to another. Now, they said that the cost for shipping these foods off is soaring. It's soaring so high that it's starting to become financially unaffordable to pay for these shippers to ship commodities from one country to another. So everything is soaring. Why? Proverbs 29 verse 2, when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. So when the wicked is in authority, there's going to be all kinds of unrighteous dealings, like it tells you in Ecclesiasticus, also known as the book of Sirach, chapter 10 verse 8. The broad job cuts, the first in Meta's 18-year history, followed thousands of layoffs at other leading tech companies, including Elon Musk owned Twitter and Microsoft Corp. And if you know anything about Microsoft Corp, Microsoft is a major company that deals with technology. Like Xbox, for an example. Xbox is owned by Microsoft. Okay, you have Microsoft Office, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel. You know, and a matter of fact, I believe Windows, some Windows are ran by Microsoft. So case in point, okay, the pandemic boom that boosted tech companies and their valuations has turned into a bust this year in the face of decades high inflations and rapidly rising interest rates. Okay, and that's what it means by soaring prices. The word soar or soaring means to rapidly rise. Meta, whose shares have lost more than 2/3 of their value, said it also plans to cut discretionary spending and extend its hiring freezing through the first quarter. Okay, as he said up here, pretty much. Okay, here we go with this potential recession. No, we are in a recession. We've been in a recession, especially since that pandemic with the Crown Royale started. That Crown Royale 19 started. We've been in a recession because what happened during that Crown Royale 19 situation? A lot of people were forced to stay at home. A lot of jobs closed down. And in the process, what happened? Millions of people, hundreds of millions of people received stimulus checks. Now, if you know anything about the stimulus checks, they give you stimulus checks according to how many children you have in your household. So a lot of people who had 6 children, 7 children, who was receiving stimulus checks up to $2,000. Think about that. 2,000 times 8. That's $16,000. So some people was receiving tens of thousands of dollars in stimulus checks. Who the hell is going to want to go back to work when they got that much money? So a lot of people ended up quitting their jobs and not going back because they pretty much had enough money to sit on for the rest of their life. Especially our people living in the hood with all these kids, even if you had 5 kids. Well, actually, no. Not 2,000 times 8, 2,000 times 9. Because the person in the household, the caretaker of the household also includes as an able body as well. So that's really 2,000 times 9, which sums up to 18,000. Now let's just say if you have even 5 children in your household and you're a single mother, right? That's 6 people in your household altogether because you got 5 children plus the mother. So 2,000 times 6 is what? That's 12,000. Okay? And people have received at least 3 stimulus checks. Think about that. 3 stimulus checks. The last stimulus check was over $2,000. So we're talking about people who've made at least over $30,000 in stimulus checks. So who the hell is going to go back to work? Who the hell is going to want to go back to work when they got $30,000 in stimulus checks? So A lot of people ended up quitting their jobs because of these stimulus checks during that pandemic. And a part of how a recession starts is through high unemployment rate. Okay, then you got this one place, Bath and Beyond, that's closed down thousands of businesses, and the CEO of that business committed suicide. How many people have lost their jobs because that business closed down? And there's still businesses closing down all around America. So we've been in a recession. The GDP, the gross domestic production here in America is low. Okay? And the gross domestic production comes from the total amount of money that these companies make, especially through stocks and shares, which the government profits from that. So the gross domestic production here in America is low. And because of that, we have a slowdown in economic activity, which is also where you get a recession from. You get a recession from a slowdown in economic activity. When the government cannot afford, to support certain businesses, then those corporations close down. Garbage trucks used to come at least 3 times a week to take out your trash. Now they come once a week. Buses at a bus stop, they used to show up at least every 10 to 20 minutes. Sometimes every 5 minutes there'll be a bus that you can get on. Now buses show up damn near every hour because so many workers have been laid off in the metro bus driving force. Businesses that was once open a decade ago are now closed. Buildings boarded up. You'll see a for sale sign out there on the window. So don't sit here and tell me that we're entering a recession when we've been in a recession. We've been in a recession. Today I'm sharing some of the most difficult changes we've made in Meta's history. Okay, and you want more proof we're in a recession? Just look at the prices in your food market. Look at the gas prices. Look at all these farmers that are being laid off, that are being bought up by the government. Look at the prices of certain merchandise that you buy from department stores. The company's founder, Mark Zuckerberg, said in a message to employees announcing the layoffs, "I want to take accountability for these decisions, for how we got here. I know this is tough for everyone, and I'm especially sorry to those impacted." Okay, I don't need to read this potential recession, so I'm about to scroll right back up. And excuse me, this laptop is starting to slow down again. Okay, so just give me a moment here. Bear with me for one moment. This laptop is slow. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 12, and I'll just hit verse 1. Okay. Okay, Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 3. It says, "In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble." Who are the keepers of the house? The so-called elites. They're the top rulers of this entire world. So they're trembling because they see their kingdom going down. "And the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease." What is a grinder? A grinder is a person that's in the workforce. Okay, it's not talking about somebody giving a lap dance to another person. The grinders is somebody that's in the workforce, and the grinders cease. Here you go. Here's an example of the grinders ceasing. You got Bath and Beyond that done closed down over 1,000 businesses, and now you got this Meta technology corporation that's laying off more than 11,000 jobs. More than 11,000 jobs are being laid off. So the grinders are ceasing because they are few. Yeah, especially ever since people got those stimulus checks. You know, now if you're single and you never had children, the most you're going to get from a stimulus check is $2,000 because you're the only person, you know, of the caretaker of your house. You're single. You know, but come on, man. If you got several children, especially if you're a woman, and you get those stimulus checks, ain't no woman gonna be going back to work. Not if she's sitting on over $30,000 in stimulus checks money. It says because there are few, so the grinders are few, and that's where you get a recession from. The less workers there are in the workforce, the more likely the job will have to close down because there's not workers there to keep the job running. It says, and those that look out the windows be darkened. And the windows is talking about your eyes. Okay? People no longer see a future here for this kingdom. They don't see a future for their children. They don't see a future for themselves or their grandchildren. This kingdom is finished. Now let's go to Isaiah 19. Isaiah chapter 19. And now I'm going to just look through it. Let me see. Is it 19 verse 19? Give me a moment here. I know what I'm going to do. Do this and then hit let's see what happens if I type in error. Okay, Isaiah chapter 19 verse 14. The Lord hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof. And they, who's the they? That's the so-called elites, because they have control over these banks and over these major governments of these major countries. So they, the so-called elites, have caused Egypt. Modern day Egypt is America, and that's presuming to Revelation 11 verse 6. Let's get that real quick. Okay. Well, no, it's Revelation 11 verse 8. Excuse me. Revelation chapter 11 verse 8. It says, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city. What's that great city? That great city is Babylon. Okay. Which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, right? Now, presuming to the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter and the 68th verse, the Lord said that he would bring the Israelites into Egypt again with ships. So, who came over here to America, which is also known as Babylon and Egypt and Sodom, on slave ships? Who came over here on slave ships to the Americas? Presuming to the book of Deuteronomy 28 verse 68. The Israelites did. So America is the new Egypt. All you have to do is look on the back of your dollar bill, and what do you see? What do you see on the back of your $1 bill? You see a pyramid. And that pyramid represents what? Bondage. Okay? What was the Israelites, which are the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native Indians, what was the Israelites building in ancient Egypt when they were slaves? They was building pyramids. Okay, Baruch 3 and 8. Even to this very day, We, the Israelites, the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native Indians, we are still this day in our captivity, which captivity is just another term for slavery. So America is the new Egypt, which is also called Babylon and Sodom, where also our Lord was crucified, right? Because the ways of the Messiah was crossed out here, and his image was painted over during the Renaissance period. Because according to Revelation, the first chapter and the 13th verse all the way down to the 15th verse, the Holy Scriptures describe who the world calls Jesus as being a dark-skinned man with white woolly hair and red eyes. And he had red eyes because he was a wine bibber. Now let's go back to Isaiah chapter 19 verse 14. The Lord hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they, the so-called elites, have caused Egypt, America, to error in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. So they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof. That's why there's always businesses closing down, people's getting laid off left and right, people's quitting their jobs because they can't take the stress, the distress, or the BS that comes with the job anymore. And that's why there's a lot of homeless people. Because they quitted their job and they could not find another one. Why? Because the expectations for you getting a job is too freaking high in this society, man. So they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof. With that, I'm going to say shalom is on to the next one.